Welcome. In front of me I have the newly released Samsung Galaxy A57, and I'll be going over unboxing in this video along with a look at the specifications, build quality, and give you my general thoughts and opinions about this phone as I go along and check out everything that it has to offer. So this will be basically like live reaction almost. Anyway, let's just get straight into this. Now, this is the little bit more premium version that Samsung offers in their A lineup. I did check out just a moment ago the A37, which is the lower end version of this. And for the price, I kind of felt a little bit underwhelmed by this. And I already did check out specifications of it on paper, and yeah, they seem to be also underwhelming. But anyway, popping out the phone right here. Just peel this off, yoink, and here it is. And let's boot it up quickly. There we go. So, other than that, in here we get our charging cable and paperwork. I'm not even going to bother taking that out. It's not like any one of us care about this. And there's literally nothing else in there. So, taking a look at the phone, build-wise, it's actually pretty nice. Nothing bad to say about it. I do generally like the build design of Samsung devices, so this one is a little bit on the thinner side. It has rounded corners, obviously, and also has a little bit of a raised area where you have the volume rockers and the power button. Now, in terms of the display, which you'll be most likely looking at for the majority of the time, we're looking at a 6.7 inches in size, which is a Super AMOLED Plus display, whatever that's supposed to be. And one thing that you might notice right away is the bezels, specifically the bottom. They're a little bit bigger for what you might expect from a phone that costs $500, a little bit over that. So this phone has 88.8% screen to body ratio. Now, it's not bad by no means. But let's just say the S25 lineup from last year has an over 90%, and that looks pretty damn good. This one, in terms of comparing it to their own products, is falling a little bit behind. And the reason I brought that device into picture is because you can buy it secondhand or from stores that are just trying to get rid of this stock of S25s, as wasn't the greatest. For roughly about the same price. At release day, I bought mine for a little over 3,000 PLN, while this device costs like 2,000. So I paid about, what was it? At current exchange rate, I don't know, $250 to $300 more, and you know. At that time, it would have been more like that. Whatever. But yeah, it's not that big of a difference now. I've seen these phones now sell for about the same price as this one is. So, like I said, this one kind of seems a little bit of an underwhelming device when it competes with itself and the flagship version of a phone from last year. Now, other than the display, or well, a little bit more to the display, let's actually add. So 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus certified only, and a peak brightness of 1900 nits. It also has a 385 pixels per inch density with that 1080p by 1080 by 2340 pixel resolution, and it's covered the corner Glass Victus Plus and is rated for MOSH level 5. So, display-wise, it's fine. Nothing super like awesome right here, but it's also what you expect from a phone. It checks all the boxes for the display. It's going to be nice, vibrant display considering it's an AMOLED display. Has a high refresh rate, HDR10 Plus support, and a decent brightness. So yeah, nothing bad about the display, but also nothing great for the price. Okay, now if we move on to the cameras at the back, we have what looks to be a triple camera setup. So the main sensor being 50 megapixel f1.8 wide sensor. Then we get a 12 megapixel f2.2, 123 degree ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel macro f2.4. Now with those cameras, you can do 4K 30, unfortunately, and 1080p gets you to 60. While at the front, we got a 12 megapixel and the hole punch camera, hole punch right here. And that is f2.2 wide sensor that also does 4K 30 and 1080p up to 60. So just like the back, 1080, 60. So camera-wise, in terms of recording, you can get 60, but only at 1080p, unfortunately. And if we now take a look at the build quality of this device, we have aluminum frame, so that's pretty nice. We have Gorilla Glass Victus Plus back, and also, like I mentioned, front. So build-wise here, it's going to be pretty durable device. Additionally, there's nothing extra here, so we have just our little antennas, our speaker for, I think this is noise cancellation, volume rockers and power button. At the bottom we have our SIM tray, and yes, that is just a SIM tray, no expandable storage, unfortunately. Our speakers, charging port, and that's about it. Now, if I now move on to the internals of the device, we're looking at 5000 milliampere battery, which is the same one as the A57, so that's no difference there at a higher price. We have 45 watts charging speed, which is actually pretty nice. So if you compare it to something like the S25 right here, this has 4000 milliampere battery, so much smaller battery, or much, like 25% smaller. And it also can be charged at a measly 25 watts opposed to the 45. So that is nearly double the charging speed, which that is going to be pretty nice and make a difference here. The device comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM and goes up to 12 gigs depending on which option you go for. And out of the box, at the cheapest end, it comes with 128 gigs of storage, being UFS, with no like specification of what UFS. So that's probably the shittiest one. No expandable storage, and at about 500 plus US dollars, you get only 128 gigs with 8 gigs of RAM. That is a little bit underwhelming, but you could get it all the way up to half a terabyte with 12 gigs of RAM. But keep in mind that will run you much more. So it's really up to you how much storage you need. But I do want to point out, I'll be talking about another device that would compete with this device pretty easily at the same, or actually, I'm just going to give you a comparison later on to another phone. So anyway, so no expandable storage and only 128 gigs of built-in storage. Now, another thing that is a little bit of a L right here from Samsung is the processor. Now, Samsung has this weird kink, at least for Europeans, to just fuck us in the ass by giving us the Dimensity processors, even in the S lineups of devices, like the S26 and 26 Plus. For some reason, it just pisses me off because these processors are way shittier. And here it is again. So Samsung here be making their own dogshit processors, calling this one Exynos 1680, and they're making them themselves. It's their own processor for their devices. And then they have the audacity to charge you an exorbitant amount of money for a device that is running probably their displays, as Samsung I think makes their own processor, and probably also their own memory, as they also produce that as well. So they literally produce majority of the components themselves, and then they have the balls to charge you $530 US dollars for this. Are you fucking kidding me here? Go screw yourself, Samsung. And the reason I'm being so negative about this is because phones like this exist. Now, this is the Poco X8 Pro. It's not even the Pro Max that would be costing the same amount as this one. This already here costing less by $100, as it costs about 400 USD. This already is faster than what we have right here. And there is a higher end version of this device that costs as much as this one, and that just completely takes a steaming pile of shit all over this, as this phone deserves to. Because if a lower end version of the phone that I have right here can already outperform this, and not by a like couple percentage, we're talking about it's already gapping it. There is no reason for this phone to exist. There's no reason to buy it, really. Other than to be stuck in the Samsung ecosystem. If you're into smart things and stuff like that, automations on your phone, you could potentially maybe want to get this device. But if you don't, if you're not stuck in the ecosystem, by all means, continue not to be stuck in it. It's going to be better for your wallet. And just to give you a comparison right here, there we go. To give you a comparison, what we get right here, in terms of just straight up performance numbers, these will be pulled from nanoreview.net, which they did a couple different benchmarks through different ways. So I'm not even going to be comparing this processor that is in here. I'm going to be comparing the processor that is lower end than what's here. The Dimensity the Dimensity 8500 instead of the Ultra that is here. Ultra is going to be even faster. I don't think it's going to be faster by much. It's just usually an overclocked version of what's here. So percentage-wise, it would be probably only like a couple percentages more. But it doesn't matter because the lower-end processor is already just running circles around the Exynos. So if we look at N2 11 benchmarks from, like I said, nanoreview.net, we are looking at 55% increase over the Samsung right here. And to give you an actual score, we're looking at Exynos getting 1,390,000. I'm rounding it down. I'm going to give you the hundreds. Like I'm just going to give you the hundreds of thousands. So the Dimensity on the other hand side gets 2,153,000, almost 54,000 score. So this is already insane. Now if we continue on, Geekbench 6, that's where it continues. So single core, 24% lead for the lower end version of what's in here, and a 51% lead in a multi-core performance. So again, numbers, Exynos, 1,389, 1,721. Multi-core, 4,453, 6,716. Now, these are more kind of mid differences right here. So GPU performance, which will be more important for gaming, that's where we're looking at a little bit of a increase in performance. So Exynos gets a measly 7,922, while this one gets a 70% lead, putting it at 13,461 score. And again, that's Geekbench 6. And yeah, that basically speaks for itself. You get just generally 50% faster device in literally everything for $100 less. And that's not where it ends in terms of benefits right here, because if we look at the battery and charging speeds, this device has a 6,500 milliamp hour battery over the 5,000. It charges at 100 watts opposed to the 45. It comes with a display that supports Dolby Vision, 3,500 nits of peak brightness, and has a much faster pull rate for your touch inputs, meaning the display reacts much faster to any kind of touch actions. So again, that would be specifically great for gaming. So it's better in basically every way. And one more thing, in terms of storage, you get 256 with 12 gigabytes of, oh, sorry, not this one. Where the hell do I have it? No, I freaking lost it. There we go. Okay, there we go. We get 256 and 8 gigabytes of RAM and up to half a terabyte with 12. So I think this is about the same kind of base entry. Yep, that's about the, nope, never mind. It gets double the storage out of the box, costing less. That's fantastic. And also the storage that is being used is UFS 4.1, so that's pretty good. So I could continue on, but to be fair, already what I mentioned at a cheaper price is enough to just kind of make this look like a not funny joke that Samsung makes. And like I mentioned, this is the lower end. If I were to compare it to the same price of Samsung at $500 US, we would be looking at the Pro Max, because this is the Poco 8X Pro. There is Pro Max. Naming scheme, not the best, but let me just kind of give you a little bit of a percentages there, or percentages. So Antutu 11, 119% increase, Geekbench 6, 107, single core, multi-core 107 as well. GPU performance, we're looking at 215% increase, so that's at the same price at that point. So you get a phone that basically doubles the performance or triples it in gaming. Why does this exist even at this point? And that is at that point at the same price range, offering you even better package than what we got, what I was showing right here, with even a more moronically big battery, being at 8,500 milliamps. And honestly, if I would be buying phone, I would probably be going for that Pro Max, just because I find it to be actually a fantastic device. How much it costs and what it offers is just great. And that battery, my God, that battery, 8,500 on a phone that is basically similar size to this, which is 6.59 inches. Oh, with a higher resolution, by the way. So yeah, honestly, I would not pick up a Samsung again. I do own one myself, the S25, but that is probably going to be the last one I buy, because I'm not planning to overpay for something that under-delivers when the Poco X8 Pro and Pro Max and things like also Poco F8 Pro and Ultra exist. The F8 is better for camera purposes. If you really want something that is good with photos, you might want to look into this one. This one is fantastic for battery life, not so much in terms of camera. That is one of the weaker sides of it. But hey, the battery and the speed, it's undeniably completely smashing whatever we have right here. So generally, it's just Samsung making another joke that is called Galaxy A57, and I don't think anyone is laughing. So yeah, anyway, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.